Independence Day, United States. Independence Day, known conversationally as the 4th of July, is a federal holiday in the United States honoring the Declaration of Independence, which was approved by the Second Continental Congress, establishing the United States of America on July 4, 1776. The Founding Father delegates of the Second Continental Congress declared that the 13 colonies were no longer subordinate to the monarch of Britain, King George III, and were now united, free, and independent states. On July 2, the Congress voted to approve independence by passing the Lee Resolution and implemented the Declaration of Independence 2 days later, on July 4. Along with a number of other public and private events honoring the nation's history, Independence Day is frequently linked to fireworks, parades, barbecues, carnivals, fairs, picnics, concerts, baseball games, family reunions, political speeches, and ceremonies. Independence Day is the national holiday of the United States. Background. During the American Revolution, a resolution of independence that had been proposed in June by Richard Henry Lee of Virginia declaring the United States independent from Great Britain's rule. After voting for independence, Congress turned its attention to the Declaration of Independence, a statement explaining this decision, which had been prepared by the Committee of Five, which asked Thomas Jefferson to author its first draft. Thomas Jefferson largely wrote the Declaration of Independence in isolation over 17 days between June 11, 1776 to June 28, 1776. While consulted extensively with the other 4 members of the committee, Jefferson lived in a rented 3-story private home at 700 Market Street in Philadelphia, now known as the Declaration House, and within walking distance of Independence Hall. Congress finally approved Declaration 2 days later on July 4 after long debating with revised wording by removing Jefferson's vigorous denunciation of King George III for importing the slave trade. John Adams wrote to his wife, "The 2nd day of July 1776 will be the most memorable time in the history of America. I am appropriate to believe that it will be celebrated by succeeding generations as the great anniversary festival. It ought to be commemorated as the day of deliverance, by solemn acts of devotion to God Almighty. It ought to be solemnized with pomp and parade, with shows, sports, games, bells, guns, bonfires, and illuminations, from this time forward forevermore, from one end of this continent to the other." Adams's prediction was off by 2 days. From the outset, Americans celebrated independence on July 4, the date shown on the much-publicized Declaration of Independence, rather than on July 2, the date the Resolution of Independence was approved in a closed session of Congress. Although Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and Benjamin Franklin all claim to have signed the Declaration of Independence on July 4, historians have long disagreed as to whether Congress actually did so. The majority of historians have come to the conclusion that, contrary to popular belief, the Declaration was really signed on August 2, 1776, over a month after it was adopted. Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, the only 2 signatories of the Declaration of Independence later to serve as presidents of the United States. By a remarkable coincidence, both died on the same day, July 4, 1826, which was the 50th anniversary of the Declaration. James Monroe, another founding father but not a signatory of the Declaration of Independence who was elected president, also died on July 4, 1831, making him the 3rd president who died on the anniversary of independence. Calvin Coolidge is the only U.S. president to have been born on Independence Day on July 4, 1872. Customs. Independence Day is a national holiday manifested by patriotic displays. It is a federal holiday, so all non-essential federal institutions including postal service and federal courts are closed on that day. The legal holiday remains on July 4th. If that date happens to be on a Saturday or Sunday, then federal government employees will instead take the day off on the adjacent Friday or Monday, respectively. On Independence Day, parades are often attended in many towns and cities, some being hours long, with many floats and participants. Parades are often held in the mid-late morning. Families often celebrate Independence Day by hosting or attending a picnic parties. Many take advantage of the day off and, in some years, a long weekend to gather with family members or friends. Fireworks displays typically occur in the evening, at such places as sporting venues, parks, harbors, fairgrounds, public shorelines, or town squares. Decorations, like streamers, balloons, and clothing are generally colored red, white and blue, the colors of the American flag. Many businesses and homes will decorate their properties with miniature American flags. The first week of July is typically one of the busiest United States travel periods of the year, as many people use what is often a 3-day holiday weekend for extended vacation trips. Traditionally, the night before the 4th was the main celebration day, with boisterous parties that featured bonfires as the main event. Towns in New England fought to construct imposing pyramids out of barrels and casks. As dusk approached, they were lit to celebrate. The tallest pyramids ever found were in Salem, Massachusetts, and they were made up of to 40 layers of barrels. These created some of the tallest known bonfires. The custom grew in the 19th and 20th centuries and is still practiced in some New England and northeastern towns. Independence Day fireworks are often go together with patriotic songs, such as the Star-Spangled Banner, the American National Anthem, and many others.